All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. You know, that was a really interesting discussion. And I start off a segment. If I don't know what I'm talking about, or I think that, I'm not an expert on something, I admit it. I am not an expert on guns. Far from it. But, yeah, it doesn't mean I shy away from my opinions. And, yeah, I have some strong opinions when it comes to gun legislation. I really do. And, even though, they work within the NRA, and I appreciate them coming in, there's certain questions they couldn't answer, and I understand that. The NRA should not be allowed to buy politicians, period. And if anybody think that that's okay, then there's something wrong with you. Sorry. They have a special interest in buying out these politicians to not pass laws or pass laws that favor them. That is wrong. And again, I know they couldn't answer some of those questions. I'm sorry, that's just wrong. Every single time there is a huge mass shooting, we hear from most of our politicians, especially on the right, and the NRA, thoughts and prayers. Well, guess what? That's not going to get it done. Even if you are on the side of you can't tell me what to do with my guns, I'll buy any guns I want. Even if you're on that side, that's fine. There has to be something done about mental illness. We do not take care of the mentally ill in this country, and it is costing us lives, and something needs to be done. Oh, yeah, speaking of something needs to be done, Donald Trump, have you heard this? Yeah, that's right. There's not going to be a government shutdown. It's not going to happen, but he's declaring it an emergency. So what does that mean? Well, he could have gotten $25 billion for this wall. It's now gone down, and he put it down to $5.6 billion. Guess how much money, JD, he's going to be getting for this wall after declaring this an emergency? Guess how much? $1.3 billion. So Donald Trump isn't getting what he wants. The Republicans aren't getting what they want. The Democrats aren't getting what they want. The only good thing that comes out of this is we don't get a government shutdown tomorrow. And by the way, our caller Kelly lost her bet. I told her that he was not going to get what he wanted. He was not going to get $5.6 billion, so once again, she loses her bet.
And I said he was 100% going to make it a state of emergency because if he did not, his constituents and his fan base would just leave him. He had to do this.
He still doesn't look good in this situation.
It doesn't make a difference.
Didn't get well, it does make a difference. $5.6 billion and $1.3 billion. You think $1.3 billion he's going to be able to get done on the wall what he wanted to get done? There's no chance. It's not enough for him to do what he wanted to do. I'm okay with $1.3 billion. What I'm not okay is him declaring it an emergency. Is it an issue? Yes. Don't think this is an emergency. There are emergencies out there. This is not one of them. And I've been saying that for a long time. But we appreciate very much Sandra and Chris coming in studio. It's not an easy conversation, especially 1 year to this day. 1 year to this day that this shooting happened at Parkland. And I remember watching it on TV all day. It was horrible. It was terrible. It reminded me of Columbine. And the shooting in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut, so that hits home for me. And, of course, the October 1 shooting here, that certainly hit home for me. I told that story on the air before. I was supposed to be at that concert, but went to the hockey game instead. So who knows? There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Certainly a lot of stuff. We'll switch topics a little here. Pop culture. The guys at TMZ, they do a pretty good job, don't they? Yes, they do.
Let's start talking rocket launchers and tanks.
No, we're not going to
hand grenades. Let's flamethrowers. Let's talk World War II weapons. Let's go. I'm ready.
No, we're not doing that. Let's talk about my good friend Floyd Mayweather. Love this guy. He comes on our show every week, every Thursday. He does such a good job. Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
What's up, Mikey?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Doing okay. Hey, can we start with Floyd Mayweather, because this is an interesting story. See, I know you guys. Posted this story in the age of blackface, I guess you could say, or lack there, or whatever you want to call it. Can you give us this story? Apparently, Floyd Mayweather goes into this Gucci store, and Gucci described this outfit that a lot of people are against, including T.I. And talk to me a little bit about this story, because it's a wild story.
Right. So there's a Gucci design that a lot of people think resembles blackface, and of course on social media and elsewhere sparked outrage, and a lot of celebrities, including T.I., called for a temporary ban, not a complete will never wear Gucci again, but a temporary ban of Gucci products. So this just so happened on earlier this week. I want to say maybe Monday night it was. We were going to shoot Floyd Mayweather out in Los Angeles, and they said, hey, meet us at the Gucci store. So because we're at the Gucci store and he's going inside and he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in there, we asked him about the ban, and he was just like, no, I do what I want to do. I'm not banning Gucci. I want to buy Gucci. I want to wear Gucci. That's what I'm going to do. So
he does love Gucci.
He loves Gucci. He spent a couple $100,000. No joke. Our guy was in there with him. Yeah, it's great. My guy was in there with him, and he was like, this is the real thing. That's how much money he spent. I saw the bill.
Did he pay with a U-Haul of quarters?
They kept the store open for like an hour and a half more. So anyway, he goes. He says, "I don't care. I'm not gonna stop wearing Gucci." And now today, T.I. fired back. And you got to remember, these are two guys who have no love lost for each other. They got into a fist fight in Vegas at Fatburger, and they
I remember that.
each other.
At Fatburger?
Yeah, I remember that.
What a place to fight.
It was wild. So they don't like each other to begin with, and now they're at odds here with this boycott. And T.I. released a diss track.
Yeah,
I saw that.
And now Floyd has fired back and pointed out some things, some hypocrisy that he sees with the situation. But yeah, it's crazy. It's the beef. It's a beef of the highest order.
I was actually at a T.I. video shoot in L.A. for his. It was a video. Donald Trump's wife was involved, and there was a big outrage. I was actually on that shoot. It was called The Weekend, and he was like,
I remember that.
He was the nicest guy ever to me. He had no idea who I was or what I was doing, but he was the nicest guy ever to me. So didn't Katy Perry have to remove some shoes from her shoe line too because the shoe kind of looked like a blackface as well?
Yep, same situation. Again, outrage, and she was forced to take that product down. I
looked at that shoe. It just looks like art to me. I don't know. It just looks like art.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the Gucci product is probably more egregious, and it does look like those old blackface, the cartoons and the stuff that you would see. I don't know if the answer is just more diversity within these companies, so someone can just say, hey, this is a bad idea for us. But yeah, two massive brands in the same week is pretty tough.
When you guys caught up with Floyd and he said, look, I can do whatever I want to do, and he loves the fact that people are out to get him. And by the way, I believe him, and nobody's saying that he's not allowed to go into Gucci. He's not breaking any laws. I just think he fails to understand the point. Maybe he does, and he just doesn't want to admit it. It is a little bit of an insensitive thing to do, for African Americans right now. It just is. And T.I., I'm not saying T.I. is a perfect person either. He called Floyd Mayweather in I can't even say. He called him an effing N-word in his.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty clear at this point that Floyd is just jealous of T.I.'s acting career, especially in the movie Ant-Man.
Maybe that's possible. I don't know. So there are some other stories. We just love Donald Trump on this show, right? And there is a PGA Tour player. I wouldn't say he's a household name, but I have heard of him, Pat Perez. And apparently he is a huge Trump lover. What can you tell us about this story?
Big time Trump fan. We were out in L.A. We saw him, and they gave us a story. He said, I want to golf with Trump. He said, that's kind of like my dream. That's what I want to do. But he told a story about a time when he was in the In-N-Out drive-through line, and Trump called him, and he left the line, which I think was a bad move. I would not leave the line. The In-N-Out lines are really long, as you guys know, and he just left the line. but he said he wants to play around with Trump. Hey, he's won a couple. This guy's won.
He's won a few.
Three PGA Tour events. So he's not a great golfer, but he's pretty good.
He's a personality. He's a personality. He actually did the. I wouldn't really call it play-by-play. What with color commentary when the Tiger Woods Phil Mickelson pay-per-view thing, he was out here for that. That was when I saw him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think if Donald Trump's going to play, well, he just played golf with Tiger Woods, did he not?
Right. Right, and Jack. So he played with the two greatest players ever. So I don't know if Pat's on that level yet.
Yeah, I don't think Pat Perez is going to get there, but good luck to him anyway. So since it is Valentine's Day, Mr. Babcock, unfortunately you're stuck here with us for a few minutes, but Magic Johnson's wife, you guys caught up with her about a little Valentine's Day story. Tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, she said that it's always All-Star weekend, so they never have they like to go on these fancy vacations in the summer, so they never have time during Valentine's Day to go on these fancy vacations. But Magic, he's good with the flowers, and it's very low-key, and it's just a Valentine's Day. They hang out together wherever All-Star Game happens to be. When we actually asked her the question, she was actually on her way to the East Coast to go to the All-Star festivities. So they hang out at the All-Star Game, and he gets her a bunch of flowers.
Hey, that's nice. That's cool.
Nothing expensive. I thought it was going to be expensive. Yeah. They rent these $100,000 a week yachts with Samuel L. Jackson in the summer, but nothing crazy for Valentine's Day.
Well, I think Magic's just trying to save his money, right? Because he's trying to sign Anthony Davis. That must be what it is. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. So, JD, I know JD's a big WWE fan, right, JD? Aren't you? Yeah, you like to watch Men in Tights, don't you, JD, right? Back in the day, at least?
Yeah, wrestling, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, WWE, XFL, whatever.
I was a big Hacksaw Jim Duggan fan myself, but apparently, you guys, well, not apparently, you guys have the story up. You guys were the first to break it. A very famous WWE star got into a fist fight with police. That's usually cops don't like that when you do that. What exactly transpired here?
Yeah, pretty crazy. So Jimmy Uso was in Detroit with his also famous WWE superstar girlfriend Naomi, and with the police sources that we talked to, it unplayed like this. She was driving a rental car, down the wrong way on a one-way street. Cops pulled her over. When they come to the window, they smell booze, so they ask her to get out. Now, Jimmy, according to our sources, don't get out, and he tries to hold her and prevent her from getting out of the car. Eventually, she gets out of the car. Well, so does he. The cops, meanwhile, are telling him to stay in the car, and they say he got out of the car, he took off his jacket, and squared up with them as to fight with them. And the cop was so scared for his safety, he took out his taser, and he was on his last warning, and he was about to tase a WWE superstar on a street in Detroit.
Wow.
Finally, thankfully, Jimmy stopped. They handcuffed him. Then another adventure, when they tried to get him in the car, they say that he wouldn't get in the cop car. They actually had to use force to get him into the back of the cop car. Finally, they get him inside the cop car, and they haul him off to jail. And he ended up bonding out a couple hours later and then left Detroit. But pretty crazy. It was a crazy situation. It sounds like a situation that really could have been a lot worse if he actually did get physical with the cops. Thankfully, he didn't, but it was close.
Mike, let's switch to something not sports-related, but just disgusting, in my opinion, this Jussie Smollett thing. What do you know about it? What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, man, it's since the beginning, there have been a lot of people, since the morning that the story came out, there have been a lot of people questioning whether or not it was true. I think we're still waiting through right now and trying to figure out what exactly happened. Did it unfold like he said it unfolded? He went on Good Morning America this morning and he told his story, and he kind of called out people who said he was lying. But then tonight you hear stories about search warrants being executed, and about police sources saying that this might have been a setup because he was going to be written off of his TV show, and he wanted to do something to stop that from happening. It's an insane situation. I feel like there's a lot on the line with this, too, because just some of the accusations, the MAGA country and the lynch, I hope somebody wouldn't make that up.
It looks like two of the accomplices were actually of Nigerian descent as well.
Right. They're saying that possibly extras at one point on Empire. Look, from what we're hearing, it certainly doesn't seem like it unfolded like he originally said it unfolded.
Yeah, fair enough. Mr. Babcock, please enjoy your Valentine's Day, and thank you so much for taking some time to join us. We'll catch up with you next week, my friend. Thanks a bunch.
nobody I'd rather be with on Valentine's Day.
I know you don't mean that, but that's okay. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
See you, Mikey.
Thanks for coming on. All right, there you go.
Hey, Brian. If this is true, if this Jesse Smollett guy did what he did, he should definitely serve time.
Absolutely.
Years.
I agree with that 100%. You know who else should serve time? Matt Kuchar. No, I'm just kidding. But have you heard this story? This is nuts, man. Okay, so Matt Kuchar played in this. He's a professional golfer. I actually played a round with Matt Kuchar, nicest guy in the world. So he plays, did you hear this story? He plays this round of golf in Mexico. I shouldn't say round of golf. He played a PGA event in Mexico a few months back, and he wins the tournament. Now, he didn't have his regular caddy. Most PGA Tour players will offer a caddy 10% of whatever money they win. This was a fill-in caddy that was just there at the course, and he says he had an agreement with this caddy. If I don't make the cut, I'm going to give you $2,000. If I make the cut, top 10, $3,000, $4,000. $4,000 was tough. Well, Kuchar ends up winning $1.3 million. He wins the tournament. How much money do you think he gave this caddy?
$20,000.
He gave him $5,000. The story becomes public, which is a joke, by the way. The 3% would have been $40,000. The story becomes public, and then his people offer him another $15,000. He declines. This story makes Matt Kuchar look horrible. He did an interview with I believe it was PGA TV, or what do you call it, the Golf Channel, I'm sorry. And he claimed that, and he said that, yeah, we had an agreement, and it was a great week for both of us, he says. He says he stands by it. He could sleep at night. I'm paraphrasing what he said. And he also said, you know, he's happy, and you know, it was a great week, and it shouldn't be distracted by this story.
Didn't you take the Cooch on at some point in your golf career? Didn't you? Didn't you face him?
I played against him once in college. Nicest guy in the world. Couldn't be nicer. He is so wrong on this issue. Look, his normal caddy would put in more work. His normal caddy would have gotten paid about $125,000. Okay, that's fine. His normal caddy would have put in more work.
So you compare it to standard teacher pay, to substitute teacher pay.
Whatever the case may be, the guy just won $1.3 million. Give the guy a third of what you would have given your normal caddy. This guy makes $200 a day, and this is what really pissed me off about Matt Kuchar's comments. He said, that's what he said. This guy makes $200 a day. He should be happy with $5,000. The money this guy makes, it's meaningless to the conversation. Not meaningless to him, but it's meaningless to the conversation. That's like me saying, well, there's a panhandler on the street. I pull over and I say, hey, jump in my car. I want you to do some yard work. Here's $20. He says, sure, that's our agreement. Then he does 10 hours worth of work that would normally have cost maybe thousands of dollars. Are you still going to give him $20? Or are you going to take care? I'm not saying you're going to give him $1,000. Take care of him, right? You're not just going to give him $20. Maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe 100. I don't know.
Maybe pizza.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying you're going to give something extra to that guy, right? You know what Matt Kuchar gave extra to this guy? $1,000. The max cap was $4,000. He gave him $5,000. This is a disgrace, and I cannot believe people that are defending him. There are PGA players that are defending him. The guy just won $1.3 million. The golf guru, Dennis Silvers, is going to join us tomorrow. We're going to try to get a PGA Tour caddy on to talk about this. But this, to me, this tarnishes Matt Kuchar. It really does.
I would love to talk to Phil Mickelson's very, very slender, very, very skinny, very, very wealthy former caddy.
You're talking about Bones. Yeah,
Bones.
I don't think he works for the Golf Channel now, but Bones made a lot of money.
We saw Bones.
Yeah, these guys make a lot of money.
At the Shriners Open.
Yes, he was here because he works for the Golf Channel. He does play-by-play now. Golf play-by-play.
If industry standard is 10%, you have to be within at least a 5 to 10% deviation of that. 8%, 6%. Yeah, the guy made $1.35 million. So I get that. Does he have debts? Is he a gambler?
No, he's got a lot of money.
He's just greedy.
Let me ask you this. I think the minimum, $40,000. That's 3%. Would you agree with that? 40 or 50, right? Is that fair?
I mean, it's industry standard. So I think 8% makes more sense.
The reason why I don't know if I'd go as high as 8 is because this is not his normal caddy.
I got you.
It was a one tournament deal. They did prearrange something, which was kind of dumb. But here's the thing: Kuchar hasn't won a tournament in 4 years. He knew that. The caddy knew that. The caddy just assumed that, hey, I'll make a couple grand. You know, caddy for Kuch for a couple days, maybe 4 days, make some good money. Okay. This is insane.
I'm a notoriously large tipper. Just so for me, 8% seems more reasonable. If you're making $1.35 million, now granted, you break down taxes. What's that? 35%, 33%, something along those lines.
Is there anybody that thinks Matt Kuchar was in the right here? Is there anybody that? And we're going to dive more into this tomorrow. But to me, I'll open up the phone lines at 257-5396. What type of money do you truly think Matt Kuchar should give this caddy? Again, he won $1.3 million, and he gave his caddy $5,000. I'll open up the phone lines. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm overreacting here? Is social media overreacting? Is Matt Kuchar fine with what he did, giving this guy $5K? What would you do in this situation? The number to call, 257-5396. Again, that's area code 702. 257-5396. JD, I always forget to give the area code sometimes because I forget people are listening to us in Reno and San Francisco. So 257-5396 is the number to call. And I think Matt Kuchar, what he has done, the way he has handled this whole situation, he is a disgrace. What a scumbag. He was everyone talks him as one of the nicest guys in the world on the PGA Tour. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. You know what? He might be one of the nicest guys, but he's also one of the most cheapest people I've ever heard of as a professional athlete in my life. In my life. Matt Kuchar, you are a disgrace. How cheap are you? Is that the kind of guy you want to serve if you're a server? This guy? The bill's $1,000. What's Kuchar going to tip? 1%? Here you go. Here's a couple bucks. Here's $10, kid. Great job, Matt. By the way, I believe he's playing in a tournament in Mexico next week. I wonder how the fans are going to feel about this. Anyway, let's take some calls on this, JD. Let's go to John. John, thanks for calling in. How are you?
What's up, John?
I'm great. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I tend to agree with you more, Brian, but I will defend him a little bit. And what I'll say is anytime, the standard caddy, your caddy will get 10% for a win because he's got all these expenses, the travel, all these kinds of things. Matt actually is paying him above average. He's going to give him $2,000 for missing a cut, which would be above average. It's actually a really good payday.
It's not really above average because from what I understand, some of these caddies are actually on a salary and then they have bonuses in their contract. But the reason why I say 10% with most of these caddies, if their player wins, they're getting about 10%. But these guys are on salary, so I would. But I understand what you're saying. 2,000 is not horrible if he misses the cut. I don't disagree with that.
Oh, it would be more than what the standard caddy. I can tell you because I have a friend that's a caddy.
Yep.
These guys are getting anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a week on average.
It's a tough job.
They got to pay all their expenses.
Yeah, it's a joke.
The travel.
Yeah.
And for Matt Kuchar, this guy he's not reading greens. He's literally not relying on yardages. He's literally carrying the bag. It's still wrong. He should have given him a lot more money. But, again, Matt's, 35% goes to taxes. Matt's caring for so many people in his family.
Oh, boy. Cry me a river. Cry me a river, John.
He has 15 kids from 7 wives.
The bigger thing is, though, it's like my wife's a food server, and so many people stiff her.
Yeah.
And she actually loses money when people don't tip her because she gets taxed at a certain rate.
Has she ever served? It sounds like she's serving a lot of Matt Kuchars. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more Matt Kuchars than Phil Mickelson.
Unfortunately. Hey, John, I appreciate your take, my man. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, great call, John.
I appreciate it. Pete, is Pete next? Yeah, let's go to Pete. Pete, thanks for calling in. Is it Pete or Brian? Brian, thanks for calling in. Brian, you're next. Go ahead.
Hi, yeah. I actually know a few of the players on tour, and I'm curious about the Matt Kuchar one, whether he actually does have his caddy on salary or not.
That I don't know. Yeah, that I don't know, Brian.
If he's on salary and the big-name golfers, they usually pay their caddies' expenses and everything and have them on that salary. So if that's the case, I don't mind the $5,000. But, if he's not on salary and he's paying his own expenses, that's kind of ridiculous for a guy making multi-millions plus his sketcher.
I'm going to take it. You make a good point, Brian, but I'm going to take it even a step further. Even if he is paying his caddy salary when he's not working, which I'm not sure he is, I still say you got to give the guy more than $5,000. I mean, come on, give me 3%. Is that asking too much? How about 40? This guy could have fed his family for a year. $40,000. This is a guy making a couple $100 a day. Not a horrible living, but this is a guy that has a family out there in Mexico. And then Matt Kuchar brings up the fact of how much money he makes, which really got me angry. He said, I'm paraphrasing, this guy only makes a couple $100.
He justified it by comparing his standard wage.
I lost all respect for Matt Kuchar, Brian. I really did.
Yeah, I completely understand that. If that's the case, it's kind of ridiculous for for him being a quote unquote nice guy.
Yeah.
But if he's paying him $200,000 a year, and a $5,000 bonus, I'm good with that. But
different. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with it.
I hear you what you're saying, Brian. Hey, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it. 257-5396. 257-5396. Let's take one more call, then we'll go to break. Pete, thanks for calling in. How are you?
What's up, Pete?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's on your
Doing
mind?
well.
Well, what struck me about Kuchar, I read what he said, was that he seems to be totally oblivious to how he's, I think properly, perceived as being cheap. He said something like, well, he can't please everybody, and this was the agreement. So in a very technical sense, yeah, he had the agreement, I believe, for $3,000, and he gave him $5,000.
Right.
But he seems to have, from what he said, absolutely no recognition, and he probably is a nice guy in many respects, but no recognition of how he's properly perceived as being unbelievably cheap. I mean, he won almost $1.3 million.
Right, exactly.
Right. Even if he tipped him $80,000, paid taxes, he's still making $750K to play golf for 4 days.
And he's changing a man's life. I think this shows the character of Matt Kuchar. Everyone says, a lot of these guys on tour, Pete, a lot of these guys are pampered, they're rich, they're wealthy.
Yes,
and I'm tired of it.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm tired of it, Pete. I really am. So we are in agreement, my friend. Hey, good call. Thanks for calling in.
Great call, Pete.
We appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Yeah, we're gonna dive more into this tomorrow. We are gonna get a PGA Tour caddy to come in tomorrow and talk with us. So that'll be an interesting conversation. The golf guru Dennis Silvers. We're going to start the show tomorrow and talk about this. So we'll get to that. Coming up next, Johnny Katz from the Review Journal. If you're wondering, what is there to do in Las Vegas this weekend? Johnny Katz will join us next. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDWN.